happens when you combine lived experience, international education, and a mission to transform a country's approach to disability. Zimnan's inspiring work shows how personal challenges can fuel professional purpose. Professionally Psyched is the podcast that brings you cutting-edge psychology research and real-world insights from our psych community of clinicians, researchers, and educators alike. In our special alumni spotlights, we chat to graduates from our psychology degree programs about how their skills learnt in the classroom have become powerful tools supporting diverse career journeys and successes. Hi everyone and welcome to Professionally Psyched. I'm Jessica Muller, PhD candidate in Public Health at James Cook University, and before we get started we'd like to acknowledge the custodians of the land on which we record, and for me today that's the Bindal and Wulgurukaba peoples. And I pay my respects to elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and cultures from wherever you may be tuning in from across the country. In this alumni spotlight, Dr. Amanda Kraus speaks with Zimnan Saman, who returned from JCU Singapore to co-found special needs initiatives in Sri Lanka. Zimnan reveals how his psychology training taught him to prioritise human understanding. So grab your headphones and get ready to get professionally psyched about using your psychology training to tackle systemic change. Enjoy.
Zimnan, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. Could you please start by introducing yourself?
My name is Zimnan. I am 25 years old. I am from Sri Lanka. I originally did my Bachelor of Psychological Science at JCU's Singapore campus. And prior to that, I did my foundation program there as well. So I've been at the Singapore campus for 2016 to 2022. And I moved back to Sri Lanka in the end of 2022. And right now I work as a co-founder and director of a special needs consulting firm called Special Needs Initiatives. And so what we are aiming to do locally is to enhance the understanding and awareness of disability, special needs across many different levels, because Sri Lanka is not disability friendly as of yet. So that's sort of a mission that we are looking to impact locally.
I think that's such a great mission. What brought you to this line of work?
I am a person with special needs myself. So I have short upper and lower limbs. And I had so many people that helped me on my journey, be it medically, be it in my education. And I recognize that not every single person with special needs has that kind of support. So after coming back to Sri Lanka, me and my parents, so it's a joint venture between all three of us. And so really the three of us, what we wanted to do is enhance the understanding of parents locally about, certain little topics. Say, for example, exam strategies, right? Those are some key tools that not many people know about. So when it comes to people with special needs, you need a wide variety of tools. And so that desire to always help people is primarily what got me into psychology as well. And then it brought me into this role as well. When I came to Sri Lanka, I actually did work for a year as a mental health project administrator. So that was for a local mental health awareness nonprofit. And after that, I just decided to focus on my own initiatives, took a 6-month break, did an internship in between, and, just to find myself. And so it's been a really interesting journey for the last 1 year. And so we've run a few awareness projects, and the response has been heartening. Like, there are a lot of people who have sort of reached out and, showed interest in further programs even. And so I think really we have the platform. We just need to, find the right people and put it into the right ears for them to benefit from the kind of services that we hope to provide.
Yeah, can you tell me a little bit more about the type of services that you're doing? I'm sure there's a million different things that you want to do, but what are you focusing on now?
So right now, we really focus on awareness sessions. So Zoom sessions, webinars, custom built workshops for institutions or schools. And we are looking at, creating some programs that would benefit the public, where they would be able to get hands-on skills to be a better teacher, be a better parent, for them to feel equipped and happy in the work that they do. Because right now there's a lot of burnout, and it's not productive for them and the children that they teach or manage. So me being in psychology as well, a lot of the tips and strategies are emotional and well-being oriented in that sense. We have broader scale plans, but we are kind of very happy with where we started and the direction that we are headed in right now.
Tell me a little bit more about how you use your psychology undergraduate degree in the work that you're doing now.
I don't think I would be doing my degree justice if I said that I used it only in my work. To be honest, being at JCU really opened my eyes, because I got a chance to gain international experience and collaborate with a lot of different people and meet a lot of friends. For me personally, I think it has been a better quality of life. The psychology degree that I did really helps me understand people. It really taught me a lot about people. So that's really what I take away from the degree, is my ability to empathize, to understand humans, to support them. That's one of the key takeaways I have.
Yeah, certainly. And I loved what you said about collaborating too.
Mm,
So you're working quite closely with your dad, who's a teacher, right? So
yeah,
it's not necessarily we sit in psychology and that's separate from these other fields. You're working
yeah,
very closely and there's so much overlap there, right?
yeah. And really overlap in the sense there is a lot of non-academic stuff, right? Because a lot of what we think is now the line that I want to specialize and go into is educational psychology, where we sort of work on the educational aspect in psychology of children with special needs, the support they need, that kind of a thing. But really, when you take a step back and when you look at a holistic picture, often before entering that stage where there is a lot of emotional building, a lot of emotional scaffolding that allows them to feel confident about what they're doing. So I think that's what we are really finding here in Sri Lanka, is that emotional scaffolding isn't there, both on the on the learner's side and as well as the parents side. So that's the mission that we want to act on at our company as well, to make everyone a bit more confident about what they are doing in terms of life. It's really a learning journey as well. So it's a really unique position that I'm in, that my parents are in, and it's a chance, once in a lifetime chance, I would say.
Yeah, and I think it's really important what you highlighted there of we're always continuing to learn, right? We're
Yeah,
always on a journey. And the other thing I really liked about what you were saying there is the children, but it's also the parents and it's the family dynamic that none of us are isolated. We're within our
yeah,
culture, we're within our family, we're within our school and university, and all of that is having an influence on
yeah.
what's going on. And you sort of need to take all of that into account.
Very true, very true. Yeah.
So, what have you learned as top tips to help people, not only people with special needs, but how do we
Yeah.
help all of us become better learners?
That's a very good question. It's a iterative process, right? That's what I want to highlight. It's not you find one tip and then that becomes, the next 20 years of your life. It's always you learn, you overcome, you adapt, you struggle. God knows, I've struggled. And so that influences, or that helps you keep your mind open to new tips and strategies. And so, for example, one of the very early tips that I started nearly 9 years ago when I first entered JCU Singapore was having a filing system, a digital filing system. And so, for me, at least, what I find is that having a structure, it doesn't need to make sense to others, it just needs to make sense for you. So even if it is organized chaos, does it make sense to you? That's perfect. That has really helped me to always ensure that stuff what I need is there, because as a person with a special need, I recognize that, not everything is very easy for me to access. So I'm primarily a digital first citizen. So everything is an app, or it's a website, or it's my computer. And, so I think 95% of my life is on the internet, but whose life isn't now? And so that's one of the tips that I have. One of the other tips that I have, I think, really more than concrete strategies or tips, I would say one of the soft tips and strategies that I could put across is being flexible. So flexibility is the name of the game in 2025 as we are recording this. And so it's a real game changer. You need to be flexible in terms of your technology. That's one. Your opportunities that you get in life. Even sometimes scheduling doesn't work out as we figured out, right? But as long as it works for both parties, and both parties have that sort of mature understanding to sort of work it out, flexibility is a very big tool in my skill set.
Yeah, certainly. And really important to keep in mind, regardless of your career or your discipline,
Yeah,
I think it goes back to something you were saying earlier of so much of our psychology degree is understanding people, and
very
communicating
true.
with people is necessitates
Yeah,
flexibility, right?
yeah.
So is there a big issue or something that you think is going to be something that the next class of psychology graduates can really sink their teeth in and tackle in terms of special needs or education? What's that big thing that you're seeing that we need help with?
That's a very good question. Everybody is talking about artificial intelligence right now, but I want to pivot away from that, and I want to focus more on the personal skills, right? Because what I find is that there is an over reliance in technology. Even though I'm digitally savvy, I still maintain some old school values. I still don't use ChatGPT. I know what it is, I know how it works and stuff like that, but I make it a point not to use it because I feel that it holds back my creativity. And so I think really what not only learners with special needs, but rather people as a whole, they need to rediscover their hidden talents of themselves, right? And that's a part that the future generation of psychologists need to work on, where they bring the meaning of the person back to the person. So much is outsourced now. Your calendar is outsourced, your web conferencing is outsourced, right? But truly, what are you, right? Or what constitutes Zimran, what constitutes Amanda, right? So that kind of personal meaning, personal sense making, that is a very difficult challenge to tackle. And I think that's really the across all levels of industry, of academia, of life, right? That's a real thing that we need to focus on. Because say, for example, in education, right, you get artificial intelligence to write for you, but do you understand without writing, right? Whether you type or you write, and there are differences between both, but if you do either, basically your brain internalizes a bit of the content that you are putting out, right? So it helps you retain a lot of the information that you read, you write. And sometimes when you outsource that component or that part of yourself, you get back time, but really you sacrifice the understanding, right? And so that is a real need, where students need to understand what they are writing, they need to understand what they are consuming. And I think even a more digitally, like, I'm just hazarding a guess, but maybe psychology in the digital age, maybe that could be a a course or some sort of a curriculum in the future where psychology in a digital age, right? What are the challenges that we have to contend with? Artificial intelligence, fake news, right? Deep fakes, photos that can be doctored, can be photoshopped, right? So these are things that cropped up 20, 15 years ago as I was getting on the internet, but it never really picked up steam until, social media came in. And so social media has amplified good things and bad things. And so that's really a challenge that all of us at every stage of life have to navigate.
Yeah, I think that's really important to keep in mind. Simnan, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you.
Thank you. The pleasure is all mine.
Thanks for listening to Professionally Psyched. This podcast wouldn't be possible without the ongoing support of our psych community. If you'd like to show your support or if you want us to cover anything on the pod, reach out via our emails, and don't forget you can listen to full episodes on Spotify.